Ji-hoon looked at his phone, saw his wife calling, and turned it face down. Hours later, he would find out. She had been in the hospital, losing their child. Ada didn't belong in Ji-hoon's world. She was soft-spoken, careful, the kind of woman who thought love was something you protected, not something you survived. And Ji-hoon? Ji-hoon was the kind of man people whispered about, not because he was famous, but because he was feared. A Korean mafia boss. Cold, calculated, untouchable. The first time Ada saw him, she should have walked away, but she didn't. In the beginning, Ji-hoon was different with her. He called every night, showed up unannounced, watched her like she was something fragile in a world that broke everything. "You're safe with me," he told her once. And she believed him. She ignored the warnings, the rumors, the silence that followed his disappearances. Because when he was there, he made her feel chosen. They got married quietly. No big celebration. No family drama. Just signatures and promises. But promises don't mean much when one person is always gone. It started small. Missed dinners, late replies, nights where Ada would sit alone, staring at her phone. "I'll make it up to you," he would say. But he never really did. When Ada got pregnant, she thought things would change. She thought maybe this would make him stay. But when their son, Danny, was born, Ji-hoon wasn't there. He sent a message. "I'm busy. I'll come later." Later came 3 days after. Ada held her baby, smiling for him. But something inside her had already started to break. Raising Danny felt like living two lives. One where she was a mother, and one where she was waiting. Waiting for calls, waiting for footsteps, waiting for a husband who only existed in moments. Danny's first word? She recorded it. Sent it to Ji-hoon. He replied with a thumbs up. Ada never went looking for proof. But sometimes, truth finds you anyway. A name that kept appearing. A number saved without a name. Late-night calls that ended when she entered the room. And one day, she saw her. Elegant, confident, familiar. The kind of woman who didn't look like she was waiting for anyone. That was the day Ada realized. She wasn't the only one. When Ada found out she was pregnant again, she sat on the edge of the bed for a long time. Not smiling, not crying, just thinking, should I even tell him? When she finally did, Ji-hoon just nodded. "Take care of yourself." That was all. 8 hospital visits. 8 chances to show up. He came twice. The first time, he checked his phone the entire time. The second time, he left early. Ada stopped expecting him after that. It started with a strange feeling. A quiet kind of fear. The baby wasn't moving. Ada placed her hand on her stomach. Waiting. Nothing. She picked up her phone. First call. Ringing. No answer. Second call. Ringing. Voicemail. Third call. Her hands started shaking. "Please pick up." Fourth call. Fifth call. She whispered. "Ji-hoon, please." In a dimly lit room across the city, Ji-hoon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, saw her name, and turned it face down. "Ignore it," the woman beside him said softly. And he did. By the time Ada got to the hospital, the pain had already taken over. Bright lights, rushed voices, cold hands guiding her. "Where is your husband?" someone asked. Ada didn't answer. And then, everything went quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't need words. Ada knew. They placed the baby in her arms. So small, so still. Ada stared at her daughter. Like if she looked long enough, she would breathe. "My baby." Her voice broke. "I'm here." Tears fell, but she didn't sob. She just held her. Alone. The next morning, Ji-hoon picked up his phone. 27 missed calls. His chest tightened. For the first time, something felt wrong. When he arrived, Ada was already empty. Not crying. Not shouting. Just quiet. "Where were you?" he asked. She looked at him and said, "You weren't there." She handed him the papers. "It's over." His voice cracked. "Ada, don't do this." She shook her head slowly. "You already did." She left everything behind. Seoul, the memories, the pain, and went back to Lagos. With Danny. Without looking back. Ji-hoon ended everything. The other woman. The distractions. None of it mattered anymore. Because the one person he never thought he'd lose was gone. So he went to Lagos. Not as a boss. Not as a powerful man. But as someone who had nothing left to lose. He didn't beg. He just stayed. Every day. Quietly. And then, a knock on the door. A man stood there. Calm. Steady. "Ada." He smiled gently. "You look the same." Ji-hoon felt it instantly. This wasn't just a man. This was competition. Real competition. And for the first time, he realized something terrifying. Love might not be enough. Ada froze the moment she saw him. Tund. His name left her lips like a memory she wasn't ready to face. He smiled, soft, familiar. You disappeared, he said gently. I had to find you. Behind her, Ji-hoon stood still, watching, measuring, and for the first time, feeling something he wasn't used to. Threat. Tund wasn't new. He wasn't random. He was the man who had loved Ada, long before Ji-hoon ever existed in her life. Back in university, when everything was still simple, Tund had been there, helping her study, walking her home, looking at her like she mattered. But Ada had chosen Ji-hoon, chosen danger, chosen intensity, chosen a man who made her feel everything, except peace. That night, the house felt different. Ji-hoon sat quietly in the living room. Tund sat across from Ada, talking, laughing, remembering. Danny climbed onto Tund's lap like it was natural, like he had known him forever. Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. Ji-hoon didn't shout. He didn't interrupt. But his silence was louder than anger, because for the first time, he was watching another man give Ada the attention he never did. And he couldn't stop it. Tund wasn't loud. He didn't try to impress. He just showed up. The next morning, he fixed a broken tap in the kitchen. Later that day, he brought groceries. That evening, he helped Danny with homework. Simple things. Small things. The things Ji-hoon had never done. Ada noticed. Of course she noticed. The difference was impossible to ignore. One man brought chaos. The other brought calm. One man broke her. The other never did. And for the first time in years, Ada felt something dangerous. Peace. That night, Ji-hoon finally spoke. Who was he to you? Ada didn't look up. Someone who was there. The answer hit harder than any insult. Ji-hoon's voice dropped. And me? She paused, then said quietly. Someone who wasn't. Children don't lie. They don't pretend. They choose what feels safe. And Danny started choosing Tund. Uncle Tund, look. Uncle Tund, come. Not Daddy. Not anymore. Ji-hoon watched it happen. Slowly. Painfully. But Ji-hoon's world doesn't let people walk away peacefully. Back in Seoul, someone was watching, waiting. And the moment Ji-hoon left, they made their move. Late one night, a black SUV stopped outside Ada's house. Tund noticed first. Stay inside, he said quietly. Ji-hoon's expression changed instantly. Cold. Sharp. Dangerous. They found me. The peace Ada had started to feel shattered. Because Ji-hoon didn't just bring love into her life. He brought enemies. It happened fast. Too fast. A loud crash. Shattered glass. Danny screamed. Ada froze. And Ji-hoon moved. Instinct. Violence. Precision. But something unexpected happened. Tund didn't run. He didn't hide. He stood in front of Ada and Danny, protecting them, without hesitation, without fear. And in that moment, Ada saw it clearly. Not love, not words, but action. Two men. One who fought because of his past. One who stood because of her. The house was quiet again, but nothing felt the same. Ji-hoon sat there, breathing heavily. Tund stood nearby, calm, steady. And Ada? Ada looked at both of them, like she was seeing the truth for the first time. This doesn't stop, Ji-hoon said quietly. My life, it will follow me. Ada nodded slowly. I know. Then she asked the question that changed everything. And what about us? Ji-hoon had no answer. Because love wasn't enough anymore. Later that night, Tund found Ada outside. I never stopped loving you, he said. No pressure. No demand. Just truth. But I won't fight him for you. He stepped back slightly. You deserve to choose freely. For the first time, Ada cried. Not from pain, but from the weight of everything. Love. Loss. Choices. The next morning, Ada stood in the doorway. One man inside the house. One man outside. Her past. And her possible future. Pause. And for the first time, Ji-hoon realized. He wasn't fighting enemies anymore. He was fighting for her heart. And this time, he might not win. The house was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that comes before something ends. Ada stood in the middle of the living room, her hands trembling slightly. Behind her, Ji-hoon. In front of her, Tund. Two men. Two lives. Two different versions of love. Ada closed her eyes. And for a moment, everything came rushing back. The hospital. The silence. The weight of a lifeless child in her arms. The empty space beside her. The phone that never rang back. Ji-hoon. Then she remembered something else. Laughter in the kitchen. Danny smiling. Someone fixing things without being asked. Someone staying without excuses. Tunt. Love had never been the problem. Ji-hoon loved her. She knew that now. But love had never protected her. Love had never stayed. Love had never chosen her first. Ada opened her eyes and finally spoke. I can't do this anymore. Ji-hoon's chest tightened. Ada. She shook her head. Please, just listen. She turned to him fully. Calm. Steady. Certain. You loved me your way. Her voice was soft, but firm. But your way broke me. Ji-hoon stepped forward slightly. I'm trying now. She nodded. I know. And that was what made it harder. Ada took a breath. But I needed you then. Pause. Not now. The words didn't sound loud. But they hit like something irreversible. Ji-hoon didn't speak. Didn't move. Because deep down, he knew she was right. Tun didn't step forward. Didn't smile. Didn't claim victory. Because this wasn't about winning. This was about her. A small voice broke the silence. Mom. Danny stood there, holding his toy, looking between them, confused, innocent. Ada knelt down slowly, pulled him into her arms, and held him tighter than ever. When she stood up again, she didn't cry. Not this time. She looked at Ji-hoon one last time. You were my first love. A pause. But you were also my hardest lesson. Then she turned and walked toward Tund. Ji-hoon didn't stop her, didn't call her name, didn't beg, because for the first time in his life, he understood something he couldn't fight. Consequences. Ada didn't look back, not because she didn't care, but because if she did, she might hesitate, and she had already spent years hesitating. The door closed softly, and just like that, the house felt empty. Ji-hoon stood there, surrounded by silence. The same silence she had lived in for years. This time, there was no second chance. No fixing it. No undoing it. Because some moments only happen once. He sat down slowly, running his hand over his face, and whispered, I was too late. Outside, Tun didn't celebrate. He simply walked beside Ada. Not ahead of her. Not pulling her. Just beside her. Weeks passed. Slowly, life began to feel lighter. Not perfect, but peaceful. And for the first time in a long time, Ada slept without waiting. Back in Seoul, Ji-hoon returned to his world. But something had changed. The power was still there. The fear was still there. But the one thing he wanted wasn't. Two men. One lost everything because he didn't show up. One gained everything because he did. And in the end, it was never about who loved her more. Pause. It was about who stayed. Because love, without presence, is just a beautiful lie. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more stories.